Good evening, everyone. Welcome back inside our Milford TV Studio B for this week's edition of the Milford Informer. I am your host, Tim Coet. We hope everyone enjoyed the long Memorial Day weekend. We will touch on Memorial Day one more time on the show this week with a quick look back on Milford's Memorial Day Parade. We have a few other items to get to as well, so let's get right to it with a look at tonight's top stories rundown. Tonight, we'll take a look back at this Monday's Memorial Day Parade and share highlights from some of the speakers. Also tonight, Ryan Farrell provides her latest member report from the Senior Center, featuring the Mother's Day Brunch held earlier this month. And later in sports, we will get you ready for the MIAA tournament with playoff previews for both the Milford boys volleyball team and the baseball team. Last week, we showed you how the kids over at Brookside Elementary School honored Memorial Day. Tonight, let's take a look at how the rest of the town honored those who have sacrificed so much by serving in our nation's military.
Welcome once again to our annual Memorial Day ceremony. My name is Gail Arcudi Reichert, a Navy veteran, and I will be your Master of Ceremonies.
The 30th day of May, 1868, is designated for the purpose of strewing with flowers, or otherwise decorating the graves of comrades who died in defense of their country during the late rebellion, and whose bodies now lie in almost every city, village, hamlet, churchyard in the land. In this observance, no form of ceremony is prescribed, but posting comrades will in their own way arrange such fitting services, testimonials of respect as circumstances may permit.
Whereas, while the nation was still recovering from the horrors of the Civil War, people in cities and towns across the country gathered to honor those Union and Confederate soldiers who had given their lives, celebrating the first Decoration Day. And whereas, after World War I, the nation came together again to honor those who had fallen in the service of their country. Renamed Memorial Day, the last Monday in May is when people remember and honor the memory of all men and women who fought and died in all American wars and conflicts. And whereas, throughout our country's history, thousands of Massachusetts citizens have fought in wars and conflicts to defend our safety and way of life. And whereas their legacy of patriotism and dedication to country is an inspiration to all Americans. And whereas it is appropriate that all Massachusetts citizens remember the bravery of those who gave their lives, so that their sacrifices serve as a reminder of the cost of our freedom. Now, therefore, I, Charles D. Baker, Governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, do hereby proclaim May 27, 2019 to be Memorial Day, and to urge all the citizens of the Commonwealth to take cognizance of this event and participate fittingly in its observance.
Today is a day we say thank you for generations who have paid so dearly. These heroes represent the very best the United States has to offer, and the very best that Milford has to offer. Let us not forget that along with the lives lost in combat, there are those that die in training accidents every day. In 2017, there were 80 training deaths, whereas there were 21 combat deaths. Please remember that simply being prepared to fight has its risks and should not be forgotten.
As we mark this Memorial Day, it is certainly appropriate and proper to remember and give our thanks to those who sacrificed everything for all of us. But really, the best tribute that we can give to all of them is to make sure that each of us provide the needs for the fellow patriots and their comrades and their family members who returned home. It's certainly what the deceased veterans would have wanted, and each of us can do it in our own way. But we need to remember that. We need to go forward. We need to make a difference, because all of them and their families have made such a huge difference in our lives.
A couple of weeks ago, the Ruth Ann Bleakney Senior Center honored a different holiday with a festive Mother's Day brunch. Once again, Ryan Farrell was at her familiar post over at the Senior Center to provide the following member report.
Everyone, Ryan Farrell here at the Milford Senior Center on my regular beat. This morning it's the Mother's Day brunch, and not only that, there are so many different things here. An entire beauty glam squad to my right, and Mary Kay, and we're going to have some beautiful music to enjoy and listen to. Maybe I'll get one of my gal pals to get up and boogie with me. So it seems like this senior center never fails to host the loveliest parties. How much planning and time went into this particular event?
There's a lot of time and planning, but most of all we pull it off because of all the volunteers we have. And Susan Clark is a wonderful cook, so she pretty much cooks everything. But it's a collaboration of effort, and I'd say we can wrap this up in about, 4 days. We're not our first rodeo.
How long have you been with Mary Kay?
Probably over 17 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's your favorite part of being down here with these lovely ladies?
I think it's just so fun to see them look alive, and I can show them how to make a quick makeover. It's not too crazy. The products are so light on their skin, and I just like seeing their smile at the end of a makeover.
That's the biggest payoff,
Right.
wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
I don't want to speak too loud because I don't want to interrupt the massaging wonders. Where are you from? Out of?
I have an office right on Main Street in Milford, 291 Main Street, Hands of Health Massage Therapy.
Well, you surely picked a great day to come out.
I did, yes, it worked out well.
Our earlobes have been enjoying the lovely musical sounds behind us. Can you speak a little bit about these musicians?
Sure. We just started the group, or actually Barbara Brazier, she's the head of the group, and she started the choral group, I believe back in around last November or December, because they did a Christmas concert for us as well, and it was really lovely. They had the reindeer bells, and it was just a great time, and they're doing a fabulous job today.
The regular season for spring sports is wrapping up this week. Milford fans will have a chance to cheer on a couple of teams in the MIAA tournament. We had a chance to catch up with both teams earlier this week, so let's begin with boys volleyball as they look to turn a dominant regular season performance into a lengthy playoff run. 1 year ago, the Milford boys volleyball team surprised a lot of people with a deep run in the D1 Central bracket of the MIAA playoffs. 1 year later, and with expectations a great deal higher, the Hawks are poised to begin a new trip through the high school second season.
We played pretty well. We beat the teams that we were, that we were expected to beat, and we battled really hard with some of the ones we were, more evenly matched up with. I think the biggest thing about some of our losses is that from each loss we took a lot of feedback away, and we got better after each loss. So we just had our last match of the season, which was a loss. It was really tight. It ended 3-2, and we're even picking up on stuff that we need to work on right now. So we're excited to be in the tournament and to be a different team going in.
I don't know if I'd say like happy, because we lost the games we wanted to win, those non-conference games. We lost 3 out of the 4, so I wasn't happy with that. But I mean, in our league, we won, but we won every single game, so I'm okay with that.
Our first loss against Minnetonka, that was a big loss, but it taught us we had a lot of work to do. And then our next loss was against Natick a little bit ago, and that was a tough loss, but we knew that we would have to beat them in the Central to make it to state semis. And then our last game of the season against Lawrence was just summed up our season that we still have a lot of work to do.
We had a couple losses. Those just from us not being ready. So hopefully we can just, be ready for when it comes.
We're revisiting an old theme from last year, and that's mental toughness. In our last match, we gave up a big lead, and we should have won the match, and we didn't. And I think that's good to refocus on going into the playoffs, and I'm really thankful that happened, last week and not next week. So definitely mental toughness and playing aggressive. I think you have to stay aggressive and you have to stay confident, and which can get tough in high pressure situations. So I would definitely say those two things.
The playoffs were a complete unknown to the majority of players on last year's varsity roster. As the team gears up for their 2019 playoff run, they hope to use the experience they gained last spring to lead them even deeper into the tournament this time around.
It gave us all, at least if we hadn't had it, our first high just environment of a game with the Natick game we had last year, where people that hadn't played had gone in and they'd gotten experience that they wouldn't receive, and now it can help them this year coming in, so they're not going to be as nervous as they were last year.
Last year going into the playoffs, that was the first time many of these athletes had been in a playoff scenario in any sport. And one big thing that I continued to say to them was, when it's playoff time, everyone shows up, regardless of their seed, regardless of their record, everyone shows up to play. And I think that Lawrence match definitely reinforced that message, because even when they looked like they were down and out and we were dominating in that fifth set, they stuck with it and they went point for point and clawed their way back into it. And we kind of lost our sight. So I think that was a huge pivotal loss for us, because it's just that reminder. Not only was there great play throughout the first four sets, but it's also that emotional reminder that everyone in the playoffs is a good team and you have to be ready at all times.
Emotion plays a huge role in the success and the failure of this Milford boys volleyball team. The key for the Hawks succeeding in the playoffs will be if they can use that emotion to fuel their play rather than their frustrations.
This past Sunday, we choked pretty hard. We were up 10-5 and we lost 15-11. And it just taught us a lot that we can't be too confident. We have to keep playing until the end.
Last year, there was way too much emotion on our court all of the time. Whether it was about a bad call or whether it was about a big play, sometimes the emotion got in our way and took over our match. And like you're alluding to, that can be a negative factor. This season, the guys have matured so much and they're so focused on success that they've actually been really reserved, which is kind of a negative in itself. And I'm trying to, get them to loosen up out on the court a little bit and show a little bit more of that emotion that they had last year. So it's definitely a balance we're working on, but we're coming from the quieter, reserved, extremely focused side of things this year. So I hope they get into those playoff matches and they're like, this is what we were here for, and they're excited the entire time.
Milford will serve as the number 2 seed in this year's D1 Central bracket, but despite that lofty seeding, the team knows they cannot afford to take any of the teams in this year's field for granted.
It's always difficult because the seeding is based on your record and not necessarily on the talent of the teams. So, and this goes back to even when I was in high school, we were the 2nd or 3rd seed, and there were a couple teams ahead of us, and they weren't better than us. And, Natick was below us, and they were just as good as us, ended up beating us, and, they might have been the 9th seed or something like that. So you have good talent all over the bracket. So the teams that we expected to be in the tournament are in the tournament, but if you look at the bracket and you look at the seeding, it's just kind of a crapshoot, so you cross your fingers.
I partly feel some of the reasons why we weren't ready was because of some of the competition, and then we would go play a big game, and it would take us a while to wake up. So if we keep playing the same level, maybe we won't have to wake up and we'll be ready from the beginning.
We have the toughest side of the bracket, which I think it is, but It's going to be tough, but we got to play hard, and I think we'll make it far.
If Milford can once again advance to the district semifinals, they may very well experience a rematch with their nemesis from Natick. That's an opportunity the players and Coach Mainini are hoping for.
We know we have 2 matches that we have to win before that, and against 2 very capable opponents, and one that we have, we might run into St. John's, and we have a lot of history with them. We used to be in the same league as them, and we know they're big and we know they're talented. But we definitely, look at the bracket and we see that potential Natick matchup, and that's exciting. Like, we all season have wanted to be the best, and we still have a lot to prove. And if we want to be the best, if we want to compete with the best and come out of Central Mass, we have to beat Natick. So definitely looking forward to that. I'd much rather go out and play hard against a good team than roll over a whole bunch of teams to get out of the district.
I wasn't really excited with that outcome. Definitely didn't explain who was the better team, in my opinion. So I really want to see them again. It'll be great. It'll be a good game.
When I asked if this year's Milford team has a chance to make it out of the districts and into the state bracket this year, the response was crystal clear.
Yes, we do. As long as we stick together, play hard, I think we have a chance.
I was here for 2012 and 2013 when those teams went to the state finals and, went 4 and 5 sets with a team that ended up winning. And I still keep in touch with a lot of those guys, and they were really talented teams, obviously coached by a legendary coach. But I'm going to be honest, this team is a 100% complete team, and they have more athleticism and more depth on the bench than those teams had. So really, it's working on the finer things, and they have the potential to do exactly what those teams did, and hopefully more.
While the volleyball's team's place in the postseason was never really in doubt, the Scarlet Hawks baseball team kept fans on the edge of their seats. But the team ultimately came through, punching their ticket to the playoffs in their final home game last week. Now the Hawks will look to turn that late-season surge into playoff momentum. After missing out on the playoffs for just the second time in almost 40 years, the Milford baseball team is back in the tournament in 2019. It wasn't always pretty for the Hawks throughout their regular season, but ultimately the team did what needed to be done to earn their postseason berth.
Obviously, I'm happy with where we're at and we're in. And certainly an improvement from last year. But try to finish strong today. And like I just said to you off camera, 11-9 is better than 10-10. But up and down, hot and cold the whole year. There's 2 periods where we were still playing okay, but lost 3 in a row twice. And then there was, other times where we were really, really dangerous. So I certainly like our chances going into the playoffs, and we'll take it one day at a time. But I think if with our pitching depth and the guys that we have, if we get hot, we can make a nice little run.
It was definitely a big improvement from last year. There's definitely some things we can take away from the season, though. We had like 1 bad week, and then we had a couple tough losses. So I think there's some games that we want back. But other than that, we're definitely preparing for playoffs. We're preparing for KP today, and then we're going to see how the playoffs go, take it game by game.
There was plenty of drama involved in Milford's playoff clinching game as they finished off a back-and-forth effort against Hopedale with a walk-off hit from Danny Corsini deep into extra innings.
That was a great feeling. It was probably one of my most memorable seasons and memorable hits at that Hopedale game. It was pretty awesome to have my teammates mom me like that. It was pretty fun.
That was a great game. Played by everybody, and that was a great team win, and it's honestly a great feeling, but that's only half the job, so we have to finish it off this playoff time.
Thursday night playing Hopedale on senior night for us, that 3.5-hour marathon that we played and ended up coming out on the right side of things was certainly good preparation for what we're going to see in the playoffs, just as far as the atmosphere and the type of game that we're going to have to win, and we've been in a lot of those this year, so I like our group. I think, we had talked the other day, too, about the number of guys that we've had on base in the last week and a half. So we're 2 or 3 timely hits away from putting up double-digit runs in a lot of our games. So as long as we can get that early in the games, I like our chances against anyone.
Pitching emerged as a consistent strength for the Hawks in the regular season, boasting a team ERA of 2.92 while holding their opponents to fewer than 7 hits a game.
Definitely getting that season in last year where you were able to take some strides there and get comfortable out there on the mounds, and then go out there this year. I feel like they had a lot of potential, and they definitely played the way they wanted to play and pitched the way they wanted to pitch.
I don't need to compare us to anyone else in the league, but having 3 quality starters and having all the bullpen arms that we have, from seniors, juniors, and sophomores who do it for us out of the bullpen. So having all those different options to go to, having the righty and lefty options to go to, it certainly doesn't hurt us having the arms that we have going into the postseason.
Milford demonstrated an ability to bounce back from adversity throughout their 20-game regular season. That's a quality that should serve the team well, as they are likely to face an uphill battle throughout the MIAA tournament.
We never give up. We always give them a fight, whether it's early in the game or late in the game. We always find we get in our groove, and then we do damage.
We bounced back pretty hard, and we made the playoffs. That's what matters to us, and we're ready to go.
The key to a successful postseason run for Milford will be finding a way to maximize on scoring chances, something the team struggled to do at times throughout stretches of the regular season.
We left a lot of guys on base, so timely hitting's kind of been like our big thing to work on. And so yeah, playoff mode, we got to get those runs in, because Hopedale we left 19 guys on base. Can't have that. I mean, get the bases loaded 3 times, I think, and I think we got 1 out of that. So we get those 9 runs in, it's a totally different game.
We've talked about it a lot as a group, but I mean, there's no reason to add any more pressure on the guys, and they know what they have to do in order to get the job done. It's really just a matter of one guy stepping up for us and getting a timely hit in a key situation. I think once we get that, hopefully it's earlier rather than later, but once we get it, I think the other guys can feed off of that kind of stuff.
Milford will likely be an underdog in every stage of their playoff run, but with a combination of talent and tenacity, this 2019 edition of the Scarlet Hawks will be ready for any challenge they face.
You just got to live it up. I mean, for all of us, the 4 years flew by, and if we could have it back, we would. I mean, never playing again on Pheno Field for the high school, I mean, that's gonna hurt a little bit once it settles in. So just live it up, have fun with it. You're playing with your best friends.
Let's just lock in every pitch, take one pitch at a time. Anything can happen, but if we go down or we go up, we know both teams can come back, so we just got to lock in every pitch.
It starts with our 6 seniors, and they've done an excellent job the entire season leading us. They're certainly excited about the opportunity. They obviously understand that we have to finish the regular season today, and then we can worry about the playoffs starting tomorrow. But again, with our pitching, with the depth in our lineup, with the leadership that we have, I think we can make a run.
That's going to wrap things up on the Informer for this week. Best of luck to the Milford High School class of 2019 as you get set to graduate this Sunday. Remember, if you can't attend the graduation in person, we will be broadcasting the ceremony live on Milford TV. We'll also be re-airing the full graduation ceremony throughout the remainder of the day on Sunday. We thank you once again for tuning in. From all of us here at Milford TV, this is Tim Coet saying have a great week. So long, everybody.